You've been fasting, cutting carbs, eating clean, and yet that stubborn belly fat just sits there like it owns you. You start to wonder if fasting even works anymore. You extend your fasts, push harder, maybe skip another meal, hoping the scale will finally reward your effort. But nothing changes. You're not failing your body. Your body is protecting you because you're making one silent mistake that tells it to hold on to fat no matter how long you fast. Here's the truth most people never hear. Fasting doesn't automatically burn visceral fat. You can be in a perfect fasting window with insulin beautifully low and still not tap into your deep fat stores. If your protein is wrong, the type, timing, and amount of protein you eat can completely shut down your body's ability to release stored fat. When your protein is too low or mistimed, your liver doesn't have what it needs to maintain stable glucose and repair tissues. Your body senses the shortage and shifts into preservation mode. It lowers metabolism. It clings to visceral fat. It keeps you safe, but stuck. This isn't about eating more or less protein. It's about eating it right. Once you understand the pattern your metabolism follows, you can align your fasting and protein together so your body finally feels safe to burn fat again. In this video, I'll show you how to correct the single protein mistake that blocks fat loss in 80% of people who fast. When you fix this, fasting stops being a fight and starts being the tool it was meant to be, a clean, efficient, fat-burning rhythm that works with your body, not against it. When most people start fasting, they expect their body to switch smoothly from burning sugar to burning fat. And in theory, that's exactly what fasting does. It lowers insulin, that gatekeeper hormone that locks fat inside your cells, and tells your metabolism it's time to use what we've stored. For a while, it works beautifully. You might drop a few pounds of water weight, your glucose stabilizes, and your hunger calms down. But then the progress slows, the energy dips, and your body quietly begins to shift its strategy. See, fasting isn't just about turning off insulin, it's also a stress signal. When you stop eating, your body has to make choices about what fuel to use. Ideally, it will burn fat, especially visceral fat. But if your protein stores are already low or your muscle mass is under-supported, your body senses danger. It can't afford to burn through its remaining protein structure, so it starts breaking down muscle to protect vital organs. That's the hidden reason why so many people fast correctly, yet stall. They lose muscle before their body ever learns to access deep fat. Muscle isn't just about strength or looks. It's your largest metabolic organ. Every contraction, every movement you make burns energy. But even at rest, muscle tissue is constantly pulling glucose out of the blood, improving insulin sensitivity and stabilizing your metabolism. When muscle mass drops, insulin resistance creeps back in. You might be fasting, but your metabolism slows, your fat-burning enzymes drop, and your ability to release visceral fat weakens. You can be doing everything right and still not lose the dangerous belly fat that drives inflammation and chronic disease. Here's where most people misunderstand fasting. They think less food equals more fat burn. But your body isn't a calculator, it's a sensing system. It's constantly scanning for safety. If it doesn't get enough amino acids to rebuild cells and enzymes, it interprets fasting as famine, not healing. So instead of opening fat stores, it holds on tighter. The liver slows down its fat oxidation, and your cortisol rises, pushing you back toward glucose for quick energy. You may even start waking up with higher morning glucose, not because you're eating wrong, but because your body's trying to protect itself from starvation. That's why fasting alone can't fix visceral fat. Without protein, you're teaching your body to sacrifice its most metabolically active tissue, the very thing that makes fat loss possible. You end up lighter on the scale, but weaker in your mitochondria, slower in your metabolism, and more insulin resistant than before. It's the cruel paradox. The longer you fast without supporting muscle, the harder it becomes to burn fat. The solution isn't to quit fasting. It's to protect your muscle while fasting. That means strategically placing enough high-quality protein in your eating window so your body feels supported, not starved. When amino acids enter the bloodstream after a fast, they send a powerful signal: we're safe. We can repair, rebuild, and release stored fuel. That's when your metabolism unlocks the ability to target visceral fat. Once you understand this rhythm, everything changes. Fasting stops being a stress on your system and becomes a gentle metabolic training ground. You maintain muscle, stabilize your energy, and actually accelerate fat burning instead of suppressing it. Your liver begins converting fat into ketones efficiently, your insulin stays low but steady, and your metabolism finds its natural pace again. So if you've been fasting for weeks or months without seeing your waistline shrink, it's not because fasting doesn't work. It's because fasting without protein is like trying to drive a car with no oil. You can go for a while, but eventually the engine starts to wear down. Once you learn to feed your body's protein needs while still maintaining your fasting rhythm, that's when the real transformation begins. The goal isn't just to fast longer, it's to fast smarter. The biggest mistake people make when trying to burn visceral fat isn't about carbs or calories. It's about protein. Most fasters assume that because fasting lowers insulin, their body will automatically dip into stored fat for fuel. But when you don't feed your body enough protein, or you eat it at the wrong times, your metabolism doesn't move toward fat burning. It locks up. You can be in ketosis, have low glucose, and still not lose the fat that matters most. Think of your body like a car engine. Fasting is the ignition that starts fat burning. Protein is the oil that keeps that engine running smoothly. Without it, things start breaking down quietly. Your hormones, your enzymes, your energy. You don't notice it at first. You feel a little tired, maybe foggy. You push through thinking it's part of the fasting process. But under the surface, your cortisol begins to rise, your blood sugar drifts, and your metabolism slows to a crawl. Protein isn't just about building muscle. It's about communication. Every amino acid you eat sends a signal to your liver, your thyroid, and your brain. It tells them whether you're in growth or survival mode. When that signal is missing, your liver panics. It has to maintain blood sugar for your brain, so it starts breaking down your own muscle tissue to get amino acids for fuel. That process releases glucose into your bloodstream, raising insulin, the exact opposite of what you want during fasting. That's the hidden trap. You think you're fasting clean, but physiologically, your body is under stress. It's trying to protect you from what it perceives as a shortage. Cortisol rises to stabilize blood sugar, but over time, that extra cortisol drives more glucose release. Your insulin spikes subtly, just enough to block fat release from your cells. Suddenly, you're fasting longer, eating less, and still not burning fat, because your metabolism is working against you, not with you. This is why so many people say, I'm doing everything right, but the fat won't move. They're fasting, yes, but they're not repairing. They're running on fumes. When you eat protein, your body doesn't have what it needs to rebuild enzymes, transport hormones, or detoxify the byproducts of fat burning. It's like asking your liver to process all that fat without giving it the raw materials to do the job. Eventually, the system clogs. Your fat cells stop releasing triglycerides efficiently, and your mitochondria slow down their conversion into usable energy. Here's where timing makes all the difference. If you cram all your protein into one meal, your body can't absorb or use it effectively. It's like dumping a gallon of oil into an engine all at once. Most of it just spills out. The key is to match protein intake to your fasting rhythm. Breaking your fast with a steady dose of amino acids tells your body, we're fed, we're safe, we can burn. Waiting too long or breaking fast with only fat and coffee keeps your stress hormones elevated and your insulin unstable. Your body doesn't want to hoard fat, it's just waiting for safety signals to release it. Protein provides that safety. It anchors your metabolism, stabilizes your blood sugar, and calms cortisol so insulin can stay low without your body feeling threatened. Once that balance is restored, visceral fat finally becomes accessible. You start burning the fat behind your organs, the deep, dangerous kind that drives inflammation and disease. So if your fasting results have stalled, don't tighten your window or extend your fast, fix your protein. Aim to hit your protein target consistently and time it with your first meal after fasting. Think of it as priming your metabolism for permission to burn. Fasting without enough protein is like running your car with no oil. It may go for a while, but eventually the engine seizes. Fasting with the right protein rhythm, that's when the engine hums, your energy rises, and your body finally lets go of the fat it's been protecting for years. When you fast, your body has one main priority: survival. It wants to keep your brain fueled, your heart pumping, and your cells functioning, even if no food is coming in. To do that, it constantly scans your bloodstream for fuel and building blocks. If those building blocks, especially amino acids, aren't available. Your body turns to the next best source, your own muscle tissue. That's the hidden danger of fasting without enough protein. You might think you're burning fat, but your body could be quietly breaking down lean tissue to make up for what's missing. Amino acids, the building blocks of protein, are like tiny repair crews that keep your metabolism running smoothly. They rebuild enzymes, stabilize hormones, and maintain the structure of muscle cells. When they're present, your body can handle fasting like a pro, burning fat for fuel while protecting the tissues that keep your metabolism alive. But when amino acids drop too low, your body interprets fasting as famine. It doesn't want to lose muscle, but it has no choice. It begins converting muscle proteins into glucose through a process called gluconeogenesis, just to keep your brain supplied with energy. That might sound efficient, but it comes at a cost. As muscle mass declines, your metabolism slows. Muscle is the most metabolically active tissue in your body. It's where glucose gets stored, where insulin gets used effectively, and where fat-burning enzymes live. When you lose muscle, your insulin sensitivity declines, making it harder to burn fat and easier to store it. That's why so many long-term fasters plateau. They're doing the right thing by lowering insulin through fasting, but they're undoing their progress by letting muscle melt away. Protein changes that story completely. When you feed your body adequate protein, especially after a fasting window, those amino acids flood your bloodstream and signal safety. They tell your body, you're not starving, you're rebuilding. That shift is powerful. It lowers cortisol, steadies blood sugar, and keeps insulin low but functional. Instead of raising insulin like carbs do, protein supports insulin balance. It allows insulin to work efficiently, not too high, not too low, so your cells can release fat while preserving muscle. Think of protein as your body's stabilizer during fasting. It keeps you from swinging between extremes. Without it, cortisol spikes to compensate, breaking down tissue for emergency glucose. With it, your system stays calm. Your liver keeps processing fat into ketones, your brain gets a steady fuel source, and your muscles remain intact. That's the secret to fasting without feeling drained. You're no longer fighting your physiology, you're feeding it. Timing also matters. The best time for protein isn't randomly throughout the day, it's when your body is most ready to rebuild. That's usually right after a fast, when your cells are sensitive to nutrients and your anabolic hormones, like growth hormone, are naturally elevated. Eating a well-timed dose of protein then doesn't interrupt fat burning. It amplifies it. It provides the raw materials your body needs to repair without spiking insulin or reversing ketosis. In fact, the more efficiently your muscles recover, the more energy they demand, and that higher energy demand continues burning fat long after you've eaten. Many people think fasting and eating are opposite states, but they're actually part of the same cycle. Fasting cleans the system, feeding with protein rebuilds it. Skip either part and the system weakens. Keep both in balance, and you create a self-sustaining rhythm of fat burning, muscle preservation, and stable energy. This is how your body was designed to function, alternating between repair and renewal. When you get protein right, fasting becomes easier. Hunger fades faster after your meals, energy lasts longer through the day, and your weight loss feels steady instead of speaky. You stop worrying about losing muscle or wrecking your metabolism because you're finally feeding the tissue that keeps everything working. That's the beauty of pairing fasting with protein. It's not about deprivation anymore. It's about communication. You're teaching your body that it can safely burn fat, preserve muscle, and thrive all at the same time. Timing can make or break your fasting results. You might be eating all the right foods, hitting your protein goals, and still missing the fat burning breakthrough, simply because your timing is off. When you eat matters just as much as what you eat, especially when it comes to protein. Your body runs on rhythm. Every hormone, enzyme, and metabolic pathway follows a pattern, and when your protein intake aligns with that rhythm, everything works in sync. But when you mistime your protein, your body's signals get crossed, and instead of burning fat, it starts storing it again. The first and most powerful timing principle is this: break your fast with protein. Not with coffee and cream, not with fat bombs or fruit, but with high-quality, digestible protein. When you come out of a fast, your cells are like dry sponges. They're sensitive, primed, and ready to absorb nutrients efficiently. Feeding them protein first stabilizes your blood sugar, tells your body the fast is safely over, and flips your metabolism into repair mode. That's when you start rebuilding muscle, restoring enzymes, and recharging your mitochondria. If you break your fast with carbs or fat alone, you delay this recovery process. Carbs spike insulin quickly, which can blunt your fat burning rhythm. Fats, on the other hand, give you energy, but not the amino acids your body needs to rebuild. Protein bridges the gap. It signals to your liver and muscles that you're safe to keep burning fat while repairing tissues. You'll feel it within minutes. Steadier energy, calmer hunger, and clearer focus. Once that first protein-rich meal is in place, the next key is distribution. Many people make the mistake of eating one massive protein meal and calling it done. But your body can only use so many amino acids at once. The rest get wasted or converted into glucose. Think of it like watering a plant. If you pour all the water at once, most of it runs off. A better approach is to spread your protein across your eating window. 2 or 3 well-timed servings allow your body to use what it gets efficiently, keeping your metabolism active and your repair systems running smoothly. Your goal is to feed your muscles often enough to maintain balance, but not so frequently that you disrupt fasting benefits. For most people, breaking the fast with protein and including one more protein-centered meal a few hours later hits the sweet spot. This keeps amino acids available throughout the day, prevents muscle breakdown, and sustains steady fat burning between meals. Now, here's where many people sabotage their results without realizing it: eating protein too late at night. Your body has a natural circadian rhythm for digestion and repair. Late night eating, even if it's protein, signals your body that it's still in day mode. That delays the nighttime fat burning and cellular cleanup that happen while you sleep. Growth hormone peaks during deep sleep to repair muscle and burn fat. But if your insulin is still active from a late meal, that repair process gets blunted. You wake up groggy, puffy, and with slower fat loss. Not because you ate too much, but because you ate too late. The ideal rhythm is simple. Fast through the morning to keep insulin low. Break your fast with a protein first meal early in the eating window. Then finish your last protein intake at least 3 hours before bed. This gives your digestive system time to rest, your insulin to fall, and your fat-burning hormones to rise overnight. You'll sleep deeper, wake up with better glucose numbers, and notice your waistline finally start to shift. This timing isn't about restriction. It's about alignment. You're working with your biology instead of against it. When protein arrives at the right time, it keeps your metabolism flexible and your hormones balanced. Cortisol stays stable, growth hormone works efficiently, and your muscles remain strong even as fat melts away. It's a natural rhythm that builds energy instead of draining it. Fasting is a powerful tool, but when you pair it with strategic protein timing, it becomes precision. You create a daily rhythm that restores your metabolism instead of stressing it. Every meal becomes a message: we're fed, we're safe, we can burn. That's how you turn fasting from a test of willpower into a lifestyle that steadily burns visceral fat. Meal after meal, day after day. Getting your protein right is only half of the equation. The other half is knowing how to balance it with fat. Many people assume that more fat equals better fat burning, or that eating too much protein will kick them out of ketosis. But the truth is, fat adaptation isn't about chasing macros. It's about creating the right internal chemistry. When your protein to fat ratio is dialed in, your insulin stays low, your muscles stay protected, and your body shifts from sugar dependence to effortless fat burning. Here's the mistake most people make. They eat too much dietary fat and not enough protein. It feels comforting at first. Your hunger disappears, your energy lifts, and you think you've finally cracked the code. But if fat makes up nearly all your calories, your body never learns to burn its own stored fat. It just keeps using what you eat. That's why so many low-carb eaters plateau after a few months. They're not truly fat adapted. They're just fat fed. Protein, in the right amount, acts like the spark plug in this equation. It keeps your metabolism engaged, your muscle tissue strong, and your liver producing ketones efficiently. But you don't want to overdo it either. Too much protein at once, especially without enough fat, can slightly raise glucose and insulin. The goal is balance, enough protein to maintain lean tissue and trigger repair, paired with enough fat to keep your hormones steady and your hunger under control. Think of it like building a campfire. Protein is the wood. It gives structure and long-lasting burn. Fat is the flame. It fuels and sustains the heat. Without wood, the fire dies. Without flame, it never starts. Together, they create steady warmth. That's the metabolic rhythm you're after. A good place to start is this general guide, about 1 gram of protein per pound of your ideal body weight, and enough healthy fat to satisfy hunger without overfilling your calorie needs. This usually means 60-70% of calories from fat, 25-30% from protein, and under 10% from carbs. These aren't rigid numbers, they're a rhythm. The goal is to teach your body to run on ketones efficiently while preserving your muscle. What does that look like in real life? Let's say you're breaking your fast. Start with a protein-rich base: eggs, salmon, chicken thighs, or lean beef. Add healthy fats for satiety and hormone balance: avocado, olive oil, grass-fed butter, or macadamia nuts. Keep carbs minimal. Maybe a handful of greens or cruciferous veggies for fiber and micronutrients. That combination delivers amino acids to rebuild tissues, fats to stabilize energy, and low insulin to keep fat burning wide open. As you continue this pattern, your body becomes metabolically flexible, meaning it can glide between burning fat and using ketones without crashing. You'll notice fewer hunger swings, more stable energy, and an easier time extending fasts naturally. You're not forcing your body to fast anymore. It wants to because it's efficient at using stored fuel. That's the real definition of fat adaptation. Fasting fits perfectly with this ratio. When you eat balanced protein and fat during your feeding window, your body gets what it needs to repair and restore. Then, during your fast, it taps into visceral fat seamlessly. Your liver converts stored triglycerides into ketones, your brain runs on clean fuel, and your muscles stay protected because amino acids are still circulating from your last meal. You wake up lighter, clearer, and more focused, not depleted. Over time, this balance transforms your metabolism. Instead of storing fat, you're burning it, even at rest. Insulin remains low and responsive, cortisol stays calm, and your hunger hormones reset. The more consistent your protein to fat balance, the deeper your fat adaptation becomes. You stop relying on willpower to maintain fasting, your body simply prefers it. The key is consistency. Each meal should communicate the same message. We're nourished, not deprived. When your body gets that signal over and over, it releases its defenses. It no longer needs to store energy because it trusts that more is coming. That's when visceral fat, the deep, dangerous kind that resists every diet, finally begins to dissolve. So stop fearing protein and stop drowning your plate in fat. Bring them into balance. Moderate protein, healthy fat, minimal carbs. That's the formula that turns fasting into a fat-burning, muscle-preserving lifestyle. The moment your body feels both fueled and safe, fat adaptation isn't something you chase. It becomes your natural state. When you finally fix your protein, everything about fasting changes. The fatigue, the hunger, the stalls, they start to disappear. Suddenly, your fasts feel easier, your energy lasts longer, and your body starts responding again. You realize it was never that fasting didn't work. It was that your body didn't feel safe enough to release fat. Once you restore that balance, enough protein, the right timing, and steady rhythm, your metabolism stops fighting you and starts working with you. Your body was never designed to starve. It was designed to adapt. But adaptation only happens when the right building blocks are present. Protein is the language your body listens to. It tells your cells, we have what we need to rebuild. When you give your body that message consistently, insulin stabilizes, cortisol calms down, and your metabolism can finally focus on burning fat instead of storing it. You're not fighting biology anymore, you're partnering with it. Fasting becomes smoother. Instead of waking up groggy or craving sugar, you wake up clear, headed, light, and steady. Your muscles stay firm because amino acids are circulating to protect them. Your liver stays efficient, converting stored fat into ketones without stress. You're burning the fat that truly matters, the visceral fat around your organs, while keeping the tissue that keeps you strong. This is the difference between short-term fasting and metabolic healing. The scale may not drop overnight, but your body composition transforms. Your waistline tightens. Your energy feels different, clean, lasting, stable. You stop depending on caffeine for focus because your brain finally runs on ketones instead of glucose swings. That's what a repaired metabolism feels like: freedom. You're no longer driven by cravings or fatigue. You're driven by clarity and calm energy. Over time, This protein-corrected fasting rhythm becomes effortless. You fast because it feels natural, not forced. Your meals are satisfying, not restrictive. You're not counting hours or macros obsessively. You're listening to your body's cues, and your body is finally speaking clearly. It's telling you, I'm balanced. I can burn fat. I can rest. This shift doesn't just change your weight, it changes your hormones, your sleep, your focus, your mood. Insulin sensitivity improves, inflammation drops, and you feel a sense of control you might not have felt in years. You're no longer chasing quick fixes or pushing through exhaustion. You're building a lifestyle that restores, not depletes. And the best part, it's sustainable. You don't need to fast longer, restrict harder, or fear food. You just need to respect the rhythm fast to lower insulin, eat protein to rebuild, include healthy fats to sustain, and keep carbs low enough to stay insulin sensitive. That's it. This isn't a temporary hack. It's a metabolic partnership. When your body trusts you to feed it right, it rewards you by burning fat all day, every day. This is where real transformation happens. The frustration turns into confidence. You stop second-guessing your fasts or fearing the stall because you understand why your body used to resist. You've corrected the signal. Now, fasting works the way it was meant to, as a metabolic reset, not a punishment. Your body burns clean, preserves muscle, and builds energy instead of draining it. So if fasting hasn't worked for you in the past, it's not because your willpower failed. It's because your protein strategy did. Once you fix that, everything aligns: your insulin, your metabolism, your energy, your results. You no longer have to push harder. You just have to support smarter. Once you fix this protein mistake, fasting finally works, and your body becomes a consistent fat-burning machine.